Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to go over how to disassemble, clean, lubricate, reassemble this rifle right here, the Springfield Hellion, or if you are in another country, the VHS rifle. Everything should be the same regardless of what country you're watching in. So with that, let's get up close and personal, break this thing down, get it clean, and get it back together. Before we actually get into the cleaning itself, I just want to go over the tools that we're going to use. They're pretty rudimentary. So we have this high-speed toothbrush. Any toothbrush will work. If you guys want to use something metal, you can. I just recommend something nylon, though it's a little bit easier on the parts. We have a punch right here. This is a Glock punch, but any of your standard punches will work. Additionally, a piece of 5.56 ammo will work for this use. Then we have these here. These are tipped in polymer picks. I like them because they get in where a lot of tools can't, and they're not like metal dental picks rather, so they're not going to scratch up the finish of your firearms. Then we have some cut up pieces of t-shirt. Of course, if you want to use 5.56 patches, you can do so. We have this here. It is an Otis cable, which will be used to clean the barrel out. We will get to that. And then we have some CLP, some break-free CLP in these two different bottles. You can buy the bottles to store it in and just buy it in bulk to save some money on the actual CLP. CLP is cleaning lubricant and protective, or cleaner lubricant and preservative, depending on the brand. But for most firearms uses, it's all you'll ever need. So on the Hellion here, we have it set up in the right hand ejection configuration, and of course everything will be the same. If you have it in the left hand, the only difference will be where the ejection is. So at this point, we're going to pull back here on our charging handle and verify that we are clear. And if you want to, you can lock the bolt by pushing up there inside the mag well. Verify there are no rounds in the chamber, which there are not. We'll let it go home. Now at this point, we're going to start the disassembly by pushing this little pin across right here, and again, we're going to use the punch for that. Once it gets loosened up, you can just push it across, but right now we need a little bit of a punch because it's tight and it is retained, as you guys can see there. Now we're going to pull our stock out, and in the manual it actually says that you need to extend it. I have not noticed that you actually need to do that in practice, but you're just going to pull and twist a little bit on it, and of course you'll see your recoil spring assembly and guide rod come out. Now at this point, we're going to pull back here on our charging handle, and the bolt and carrier assembly will come right on out that you see right there. And we're just going to continue forward on this guy here and push this pin over, and this will take our magazine well out. Need to push that one across with the pin as well. It's a little bit tight. There you go, captive, and you're just going to kind of pull forward on the magazine well because it's got a little latch here where the pin goes in, and then just kind of pull it up and forward like that. And continuing on forward, we're going to push this pin across to take our handguard off. For some maintenance, if you don't want to actually break down your piston assembly, you probably don't need to do that every time, but we're going to do it for the purposes of this video. We're just going to push our handguard forward, and it does come off. Now, kind of a weird part to capture on video here. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. We'll find out. But we're going to take our carry handle off. In order to do that, you need to push this button here from either side. It really doesn't matter. You just need to push it across, pull up on it, and then you'll see it comes off. Again, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this on camera. We're going to find out. So I'm going to push over and then pull up. There you go, if I can. And as you guys can see there is this post that goes across here where your sling attachment points are, and that actually indexes on this little hook right here. That's important for when we actually go to put it back together. Now, to actually pull the piston system out, what you're going to want to do here is hold your piston cup and then just pull down on the rod here, and it will come out with the spring. At this point, your piston itself will come out as well. And for the purposes of this video, this is absolutely broken down as far as we need to take it. And at this point, we're just going to take a patch and put a little bit of oil on it. One thing I'm looking for here, because I'm going to run this one through the barrel, is one that's a little bit smaller. As a general rule, you know, having those 5.56 patches are handy, but if you're going to cut your own, just make sure you don't cut them too big because they will get stuck. Ask me how I know. So we're going to do that, and we're going to put a little bit of CLP on there, and we're going to run it through the bore. And the reason for that is there's a whole lot of carbon in there, and we just want to start it breaking down while we're cleaning the other parts of the actual firearm. I should mention too, I suppose, before I do that, you can switch the ejection port pin. So if you pull up here on our stock cheek piece rather, there we go. This pin right here is what locks your ejection port in. Again, we have our set up for right hand configuration, so you can swap it out and put it over here if you want to while we have it disassembled, but I'm going to leave it in right hand configuration, but just know that that is possible on your Hellion here. So we're going to run this guy here through the barrel. And what you're looking for there is that carbon fouling that you see. And we didn't have too much on there. It might have been a little bit undersized for the pat size, so I'm going to run it through again. But what's happening with that CLP, and you'll probably hear me say this again throughout the video, is that one benefit of CLP versus other types of cleaners or lubricants is that it's constantly, it literally never stops, breaking down carbon. So even once the weapon is clean, any type of carbon that you missed will continue to be broken down once it's reassembled. So it's kind of one of the benefits of it. But we got a good bit of CLP in there now, so it's working in those lands and grooves of the barrel. And we're going to set this off to the side and work on our individual components at this point. So for our bolt carrier and assembly here, basically what we want to do is we have this little pin here, or this latch I should say, that is stopping our firing pin from going back. Additionally, we have this pin, this cross pin, that is also preventing it from going out. So this is our firing pin safety, and this is our retention pin here. So we're going to take our tool, again, a bullet will work, take our retention pin out, and then pull up, there you go, on the firing pin assembly and spring. And at this point, you have your cam pin right here. We need to get that out, so we'll just push it back, and it'll either fall out at this point, and if it doesn't, just push it through that hole, just like that. And that is our bolt assembly. So at this point, we're going to spray a little bit of CLP on basically everything here, and I'm going to work it with our toothbrush to get everything starting breaking down. And one benefit of the finish here on this bolt, of course, is that it's very easy to clean with that nickel-based finish on there. You want to make sure you get up in the face of the bolt and under the extractor here, because carbon tends to hang out there, and additionally it needs to get a good purchase on the round during the function of the weapon to make sure it can extract properly. And one thing about this type of design of firearm is that you kind of have to get up in that bolt assembly there. And there's various ways to do it. We're going to use our tipped in pick. But again, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But you want to get up in there. And then additionally, we want to talk about the face here of our piston assembly or carrier assembly. And make sure we get all of that cleaned off, because as you can see, there is plenty of carbon fouling in there. We're just going to work it from different angles, the top, the front, the back, etc., and make sure we work the entire outside here of our carrier as well. Now we're going to move on to the piston, and this one here is going to be reasonably difficult to get clean. If you guys are new to a piston operated gun and you think it's going to get clean like a DI gun would, well, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying it's going to take you a while. So I'm just going to put some CLP on there, make sure we get all around the rings. And I'm going to leave that off to the side. Me personally, I don't have to get it as clean as some of you guys probably will. Some of you guys really like to have that thing shiny, and that's cool. If that's you, there's that. But again, what I'm trying to do here is just get CLP onto everything, all of the surfaces that you guys can't see. And of course, this will just wipe down our cam, as will our spring, as will our retention piece. Now we're going to move over here to our spring assembly. And on this particular one, I'm just going to wipe it down. If your gun is really dirty, I'd imagine you can probably add a little bit of CLP on there, but you want to make sure you get in here where your buffer is, and then all in this plastic assembly, and just wipe down the outside of your spring as well. Now this gun has had quite a bit of rounds through it, and it's not terribly dirty, which is one of the benefits of the operating system of this firearm. Additionally, for any of the polymer parts that you want to get into, you can get in there and wipe everything clean. Unless you've been doing a mud test or something like that, it probably Won't be all that dirty, but it's not going to hurt anything. Same would be true here for your mag well. Again, unless you've been operating in austere conditions, you're probably not going to see a lot of carbon on those pieces, but if you want to, feel free. The same is going to be true here for the area around our gas block. You can wipe all that down. Now, one thing I do recommend is a little bit of CLP on your barrel just to help with corrosion resistance. And then, of course, I'm going to push up in there as well into where our piston goes in. Now, the reality is it's a self-cleaning piston, so yeah, probably don't need to get in there too much, but just getting in there, working the carbon that you can get out isn't going to hurt anything. At this point, we're going to start wiping all the CLP that we put on there off, and with any kind of bolt like this, AR style bolt, if you will, or AR 180, depending on whom you ask, you want to make sure you get into those lugs. Additionally, you're going to take our patch there and put it over, and what we're going to do is work underneath the extractor rim to make sure we get all that carbon out of there, because it is there, as you can see, I promise. So we're going to get that. And with everything on this gun, a theme you guys are probably going to hear me say is get it as clean as you want. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. If you guys want everything to be spotless, do you. Have fun, get it spotless. If that makes you happy, I'm not mad at it. But in my opinion, that's not really necessary for most of this. And again, what we're trying to do here is just wipe up all of that CLP that we already put in there to break down the carbon. And you don't have to get all of it because, like I said, it's just going to continue doing its job if you leave it in there. And it's also, of course, a lubricant. A lot of the places that we're about to lubricate, that CLP already is in there. One place you don't want a whole bunch of lube is on your firing pin. If that happens, you can actually have light strikes or failures to fire. So you want to make sure you get the lube out of your firing pin. Same is true here, not so much with light strikes, but same is true with your piston assembly. You don't need a bunch of lubricant on your piston assembly. It's just not how it's designed to work. It's not going to hurt anything if you do, but it'll just burn off when you fire it. One area I neglected to show earlier, and I just realized it, is going to be up in that chamber. You definitely want to get in that chamber to clean everything out, both in the area where your carrier is going to ride, as well as where your actual start chamber is. Now, back here towards the back of the receiver, you're going to find that it is very clean. Again, it's just sort of one of the benefits of a piston operating system. But up here towards where the rounds actually feed in, there will be some carbon, and there absolutely will be some carbon in your start chamber. Now, if you guys want to buy specific start chamber cleaners, we'll leave a link down below in the video description for you guys to do so. But in my opinion, you don't really need to do so. You can get in there pretty darn well with these tipped in picks, and you just got to attack it from a few different angles, and you can get pretty much your entire chamber clean, at least as clean as, again, you're going to need it to be. The rifle here has a special coating on the barrel extension, so it's going to stay pretty clean regardless and just kind of wipes clean. But again, we're just going to soak everything up, all that CLP that we can get out of there, we're going to get it out of there, and make sure that area is clean before we start lubricating and reassembling. For reassembly, we're going to start with our piston system. So we're going to take our piston and put it up in there. One thing you probably noticed is that this piece here does free float. So you want to make sure that it is indexed here on the barrel itself, like so. Now at this point, we can take our spring and put it back on. And of course, what we're going to want to do is make sure that we put it down. You're going to push downward pressure on this. It's going to go through a little bit, and then it will go back up into the cup there. And that is the piston system ready to rock. We're going to move back over here to our bolt carrier group. Again, like I was saying, you don't really want any lubrication on your firing pin. A little bit's not going to hurt anything, but you certainly don't need it. Moving over to our bolt itself. Again, this is a system that has a good lubricity on the parts, but we are going to put it on our bolt itself and put it back into our carrier. Now, I should note, for those who are new and maybe haven't picked one of these up yet, this is where you can change the ejection of your firearm. You can eject either right or left, but what you want to do is make sure that wherever your extractor is oriented is where your ejection port is also oriented. So you want right hand ejection as we have it now. Obviously, we're going to have our our extractor oriented to the right. Now at this point, we're going to put a little bit of oil just down in the track, and also a little bit here on this pin. Now we're going to make sure that that goes in there and everything lines up, just so you don't want to have to force anything in there. And you can see we are back in business there. Now we're going to put our firing pin in there, and you have to lift up on our firing pin safety. So you can get it in and then lift up, push forward. At this point, we're going to put our retaining pin back in, and that should go in freely, and your bolt should move freely like so as well. Now, before we actually start putting the polymer on and putting everything back in, I'm going to make a run here of the patch through the bore just to make sure that we get some of that carbon out of there that's been being broken down by the CLP the whole time. And again, guys, if you want your patches to come out shiny, awesome. Again, I'm just doing this for your video viewing pleasure. But what you'll probably see here is that we had a bunch of carbon come off because it's been broken down. And there you go. As such, we did. So we're going to run that through. And again, if you want to, you can keep running those through until they're clean. That's on you. We're going to put our handguard on. And then after that, we're going to put the top cover on. And to put your handguard on, basically you just want to make sure that your pin is pulled all the way out. You're going to line everything up so that way it goes straight in there. Then put your pin down all the way through so that way it retains your handguard. Now we're going to move over to our carry handle and our backup iron sights. Again, you're going to want to hook this piece right here onto this hook up front. If you want to orient the rifle so that the buttstock is up, it's a little bit easier, but I'm going to do it on camera for you guys, hopefully. And you can also see here that these pieces of polymer fit in to our handguard like so. And just going to get it hooked in, give it a good whack. Again, it's a little bit easier if you're not trying to do it all on camera, but there you go. It is hooked into place back where we want it. Now we're going to move over to our magwell, and of course we want this piece to line up with this part here. Some folks will say that you want to start with the rear. I kind of agree with that, and then work forward, push it in, push your pin across, and you are good to go. At this point, we are also going to lubricate the outside of our carrier because you can see we have wear on there. Anywhere where you see wear on a firearm, you generally want to lubricate. But again, this particular firearm is not super needy when it comes to lubrication like some designs are. So we're gonna put that in there. And then what we're gonna do somehow on camera, I'm not sure, but we're gonna put it into the buttstock so you can see here that it lines up. There are some holes that it kind of obviously goes in, and the same is going to be true here for when we line our buttstock up. It's again probably not the best camera angle for this, but if you actually can look in there, it should be pretty obvious where they're actually going. And we're going to try to line the recoil spring and guide rod up in the same way. So you're going to get those in there and then make sure our guide rod goes into that little hole where it came out of. Get right back in your hole. I promise if you're not doing this on camera, it is easier, I can assure you. There you go. We're just going to push everything home. And we're going to push our cross pin through. Before closing the video out, I should mention that I do recommend putting on the carry handle before you put on your handguard. I just kind of got out of order in that last segment there, but with that, you guys now know how to disassemble, clean, lubricate, reassemble your Springfield Armory Hellion or your VHS, depending on what country you're in. So hopefully that helped a lot of you guys out there. I think there's quite a bit of folks who are picking up this as their first rifle, so it should be helpful for you guys to see kind of how everything goes together, how everything works. And if you like the type of video that you guys saw today, definitely subscribe. We have a whole playlist of how to clean and lubricate here on the channel, and of course reviews on guns like this as well. And if you guys are subscribed rather and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you can sign up for my email at the website here on your screen. This email goes out once a month, and it has all of the videos since the previous month's email went out, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content, because it goes straight from me to you. Additionally, if you guys like the type of videos we do here and you like the gear that we cover, definitely sign up for my daily deals email. If there's deals on optics, on the lubrication that you guys saw, on the cleaning products, on the magazines, on the ammunition, any of that stuff, it will go out in my daily deals email. It goes out every day as the name indicates, and it has 6 to 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet. And it goes, and if it's in that email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet, so that way it saves you guys some time because I've already done the comparisons for you, and hopefully saves you some money as well. That's it. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.